Imagine walking through a forest and hearing the thunderous footsteps of a woolly mammoth. Picture diving into crystal-clear waters alongside a Caribbean monk seal. What if I told you that scientists aren't just dreaming about this anymore, they're actively working to make it reality? In laboratories around the world, researchers are using cutting-edge technology to resurrect species that vanished forever. Some disappeared just decades ago. Others have been gone for thousands of years. But here's the mind-bending part: we might actually be able to bring them back from the dead. Welcome back to Top X Scroll, where we dive deep into the mysteries that challenge everything we thought we knew. I'm your host, and today we're exploring one of the most ambitious scientific frontiers of our time, de-extinction. The idea sounds like pure science fiction, but it's very real science. Using techniques like CRISPR gene editing, cloning, and selective breeding, researchers are attempting something that was impossible just a generation ago. They're trying to reverse extinction itself. But this raises profound questions. Should we bring back creatures that nature or humans eliminated? What could go wrong? And which animals are scientists most determined to resurrect? Today, we count down 10 extinct species that might soon roam the earth again. Some of these choices might surprise you. Number 10, the passenger pigeon. Let's start with one of conservation's most tragic stories. Just over a century ago, passenger pigeons darkened North American skies in flocks so massive they could block out the sun for hours. Estimates suggest their population once reached 5 billion birds. Then, in just 50 years, they vanished completely. The last passenger pigeon, Martha, died alone in the Cincinnati Zoo in 1914. The cause wasn't disease or climate change, it was us. Humans hunted them relentlessly for food and sport. We destroyed their forests. We broke apart their massive flocks until they couldn't survive. Now, scientists are editing the genes of band-tailed pigeons, the passenger pigeon's closest living relative, to recreate their extinct cousins. The goal isn't just scientific achievement, it's ecological restoration. These birds were keystone species that shaped entire forest ecosystems. Number 9, the Tasmanian tiger. The Thylacine, or Tasmanian tiger, wasn't actually a tiger at all. This remarkable marsupial was Australia's largest predator, with distinctive stripes and a pouch like a kangaroo. The last known thylacine died in captivity in 1936, just weeks after the species was finally given legal protection. What makes the thylacine special for de-extinction efforts is the quality of preserved specimens. Some museum samples contain remarkably intact DNA. Australian researchers have already succeeded in bringing back some thylacine genes. They've inserted them into mouse embryos and watched them function. The University of Melbourne has launched a multi-million-dollar project to fully restore the species. They're using stem cell technology and artificial wombs to potentially create the first thylacine in nearly a century. Number 8, the Caribbean monk seal. Here's a tragedy that hits closer to home. The Caribbean monk seal was declared extinct in just 2008. These playful, intelligent marine mammals once thrived throughout the warm waters of the Caribbean and Gulf of Mexico. Christopher Columbus himself wrote about encountering them in 1494, calling them sea wolves. For centuries, they were hunted for their oil and meat. Climate change and pollution finished what hunting started. Scientists are particularly motivated to restore this species because its extinction is so recent. There's detailed footage of living Caribbean monk seals, comprehensive genetic samples, and most importantly, their habitat still exists. The Hawaiian monk seal, their close relative, provides a perfect genetic foundation for resurrection efforts. Number 7, the Gastric-Brooding Frog. This might be the strangest creature on our list. The Gastric-Brooding Frog had one of the most bizarre reproduction methods in the animal kingdom. Females would swallow their fertilized eggs, shut down their stomach acid production, and give birth by vomiting up fully formed tadpoles. These incredible frogs disappeared from Australian rainforests in the 1980s, likely due to a fungal disease that's devastated amphibian populations worldwide. Professor Mike Archer's team in Australia has made remarkable progress bringing them back. They've successfully cloned gastric-brooding frog embryos using preserved genetic material. While the embryos didn't survive to become adult frogs, they proved that de-extinction is possible for this species. Number 6. The Aurochs was the wild ancestor of all domestic cattle. A massive, powerful beast that once roamed across Europe, Asia, and North Africa. Standing 6 feet tall and weighing over 2,000 pounds, these animals were the ultimate symbol of untamed wilderness. Julius Caesar wrote about them, describing their strength and ferocity. Cave paintings show our ancestors hunting them. The last Aurochs died in Poland in 1627. But here's where it gets interesting. Domestic cattle still carry Aurochs DNA. European scientists are using selective breeding programs to essentially breed backwards, selecting cattle with the most Aurochs-like traits and crossing them over multiple generations. The Tauros project claims they're already producing animals that look remarkably similar to their ancient ancestors. These neo-Aurochs could help restore Europe's ancient grassland ecosystems. Number 5. The Great Auk. Picture a penguin that could fly. Until it couldn't. The Great Auk was the Northern Hemisphere's version of a penguin, a flightless seabird that stood 3 feet tall and dominated North Atlantic waters for millions of years. Humans hunted them mercilessly for their feathers, meat, and oil. The last confirmed Great Auks were killed on a small island off Iceland in 1844. Collectors had made them so rare that specimens became incredibly valuable, creating a perverse incentive to kill the final survivors. Scientists at the University of California, Santa Cruz are working to resurrect Great Auks using DNA from museum specimens. They're focusing on the bird's closest living relative, the razorbill, as a genetic foundation. The project faces unique challenges because Great Auks lived in harsh marine environments and had complex social behaviors that we're still trying to understand. Number 4. The dodo. No list of de-extinction candidates would be complete without the dodo. This flightless bird from Mauritius has become the ultimate symbol of human-caused extinction, disappearing just 175 years after humans arrived on their island home. Recent genetic analysis has revealed that dodos were actually close relatives of pigeons, much closer than scientists previously thought. This discovery has revolutionized de-extinction efforts because it means we have abundant genetic templates to work with. The dodo's story is particularly tragic because they showed no fear of humans. Having evolved on an island with no natural predators, they approached sailors with curiosity rather than caution. This trusting nature, combined with habitat destruction and introduced species, sealed their fate. Colossal Biosciences, a leading de-extinction company, has announced plans to recreate dodos using advanced genetic engineering. They estimate it could take just 10 to 15 years. The saber-toothed cat. Now we're venturing into truly ancient territory. The saber-toothed cat, specifically Smilodon fatalis, vanished about 10,000 years ago at the end of the last ice age. These weren't actually tigers. They were entirely different predators with those iconic 7-inch canine teeth. What's remarkable is how well-preserved saber-tooth DNA can be found in tar pits, particularly the La Brea tar pits in Los Angeles. Scientists have extracted genetic material from specimens that are thousands of years old. The challenge isn't just bringing them back, it understands their role in modern ecosystems. These were specialized hunters that likely preyed on giant ground sloths and other megafauna that no longer exist. Some researchers argue that resurrecting apex predators like saber-toothed cats could help control overpopulated deer and elk in areas where human development has eliminated natural predators. Number 2. The Neanderthal. This is where de-extinction becomes deeply controversial. Neanderthals weren't animals, they were our closest human relatives, with sophisticated tool use, art, and possibly even language. They disappeared about 40,000 years ago, though traces of their DNA live on in modern humans. Geneticist George Church has proposed that Neanderthal resurrection might be scientifically possible using surrogate mothers and advanced genetic engineering. The ethical implications are staggering. Would a resurrected Neanderthal be human? What rights would they have? Most scientists consider this possibility both technically unfeasible and morally unacceptable. But the genetic knowledge exists, and the technology is rapidly advancing. It forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about the boundaries of life, death, and what it means to be human. Number 1, here we reach the holy grail of de-extinction, the woolly mammoth. These magnificent creatures dominated Ice Age landscapes for hundreds of thousands of years before climate change and human hunting drove them to extinction about 4,000 years ago. Colossal Biosciences has raised over $75 million specifically to bring back woolly mammoths. They're not just cloning. They're creating hybrid mammoth-elephant embryos using the most advanced genetic engineering techniques ever developed. The plan is ambitious: edit Asian elephant genes to include mammoth traits like cold resistance, smaller ears, and that iconic woolly coat. Then use artificial wombs or elephant surrogates to bring the first mammoth in millennia to life. But why mammoths? Scientists argue they could help combat climate change by restoring Arctic grasslands, which reflect more sunlight and store more carbon than current tundra. The reality is that de-extinction isn't really about bringing back identical copies of extinct species. We're creating new animals that combine traits from the past with genetics from the present. These won't be perfect resurrections. They'll be something entirely new. Some projects, like the passenger pigeon and Thylacine, could succeed within the next decade. Others, like the mammoth, face enormous technical challenges that might take generations to solve. The bigger question isn't whether we can do this, it's whether we should. Every dollar spent on de-extinction could instead protect currently endangered species. Are we so focused on fixing past mistakes that we're ignoring present threats? But perhaps that's the wrong way to think about it. Maybe de-extinction represents something more profound. Hope. Hope that death isn't always final. Hope that human ingenuity can repair some of the damage we've caused. Hope that the story of life on Earth is still being written. The question is, if scientists succeed in bringing back these lost species, will we be ready for the world they create? And more importantly, what extinct animal would you most want to see walking the Earth again? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more mysteries that challenge everything we think we know about life, death, and the future of our planet.